This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today we are going to have Connor demo the new timesheet functionality coming out in release 69 in the next couple weeks. So, Connor,
All right, thanks everyone. Yeah, so good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining. Like Anthony said, I'm here today to go through the new time we're going to be here in release 16 in June. It's been we originally had it planned at release in 6 due to everything going on with COVID-19. We decided to minimize the impacts for our customers and just hold off on it for a release. So we feel like we're in a better place now. Our customers are in a better place now that they can start taking advantage of the new feature and the new experience we have to offer with the new timesheet. So with that, I'll just go ahead and jump right in and timesheet. So first, through the setup aspect, sheet profile. So if customers are using the new UI on desktop or using they will have access to the new timesheet. On desktop, it is an optional feature. So for the past year or so, we've had this timesheet view configuration option that controls which timesheet experience the users get when they view their personal timesheet. So either the mobile, which is that responsive timesheet that they would also see on the mobile app, or they could utilize the desktop timesheet view, which is our classic timesheet. So this would only be on the desktop UI. They would always get the mobile timesheet on the mobile app, obviously. So really what we're doing is we're swapping out the current mobile timesheet that we have today with the new timesheet. So this mobile setting here will actually control users getting that new timesheet experience. So this would be for an employee viewing their personal timesheet on desktop, but then we can also extend that new timesheet to apply to admins and managers as well. So these are kind of two new checkboxes that we added in scope of this work. So admins and managers can take advantage of the new timesheet as well. So again, just to reiterate, the default timesheet on the mobile app, but then optional to use here in the desktop new UI. All right, so I will do an employee here and we'll go through the timesheet. All right, so we'll jump into Jake Bell's timesheet, and here it is. So as you can tell, we've gotten back to more of the grid style or worksheet style view, similar to the classic concepts. So just kind of based on the feedback we've gotten over the past couple years, this was just more of a logical way to manage a timesheet, enter data for a timesheet. So we heard that feedback and we really wanted to get back to those concepts. We've added in some day header dividers. So we can differentiate the days with this day line. So it summarizes the hours, summarizes the data on the line. So you can expand and collapse days if you wanted to. So by default, when you come into the timesheet, the days that have data or that have a schedule will automatically be expanded. And then those days that don't have any data, nothing on it, those would just automatically be collapsed. So from a manager perspective, if they wanted to come into the timesheet, they really just want to focus on one day at a time or a couple days at a time, they can really just drill down into that day and enter in the data and do all the managing for that day, while all the other days, you just have a high level overview of the data for that. So really simplified the experience for the managers, made it easier to manage and enter data and review data as well. So I'll try to go through a few other highlights here. So we have the time off column, so these are center and time entry data columns that we've offered previously. So all of they'll be here. We've actually, as you can tell here, maybe the most obvious thing, we've moved the time entry piece over to the left-hand side of the timesheet instead of over on the right. So this is just more of a logical flow. You enter in your data starting from the left side and work your way all the way to the right, entering in all the secondary data that's associated with that timesheet or that time entry. So it's really just a more logical flow and a different approach that we took there. For the org levels and the cost centers, so we have those most recently used values that appear here. So based on this user, these are just the most recent cost centers that I've used. So I can select those from a drop down, and then I can also open up the browse option to show the full list of cost centers that I can choose from. And then I can also search from here as well. So that's the search option. We also have the browse option, which is more of like the tree view. So you could drill down by each level and then select the cost center that way.
This person is talking. I can't.
Sorry, is there a question? Okay. All right, so that's the data entry piece for the cost centers. Same thing for time off. One actually a big advantage we have here in the new timesheet is when selecting these time offs and cost centers. In the classic timesheet, if you ever noticed, each time you had to select an option, the timesheet had to do a quick reload. But since with this new approach and the new framework that we're using, really when you enter in the data pieces here, you don't have any reloading of the timesheet. So you can enter in all that data at once and then do a final save to save all the changes that you made. So it really just makes it more efficient and makes it easier for users. All right, so here for jumping over to the right, so we have the notes column. So you have the daily note on the day line here. So you can enter the daily note. Once you do enter that note, it will just give an indicator of the red dot with also the count of the note. So if I open up the day note, it just shows that note there, no call, no show, made by Bob Davis, and then the time. And then you can also delete it if needed. And then also if you need to associate a time entry note, you can do that as well. Down here later on, you can see I have a time entry note here, so I can open that up and then show the reason and the note that was put in there. And then in terms of viewing the timesheet as a whole, we've brought in the concept of all timesheet notes. So you can see a summary of, of all daily and time entry notes here at the top. So when you open that up, it'll show all the days that have notes, and then you can drill down into those and see whether, if it's a daily note, it'll just show as a general note under Tuesday. And then if it's a time entry note, it would show the actual time entry it's associated with. While we're up here at the top, I'll just go through the other option we have, documents. So you can attach documents from your desktop here. So I will just do that real quick. You can attach the document, give a description, and then also a document type. I guess I don't have any configured right now. And then you can also enable if employees can view it or not. And then once you upload that, the file, you can close it, and now it's got the indicator of how many documents you have attached to the timesheet. All right. The other thing I'll go through are the exceptions, as you can see. So we've actually really improved the exception handling a lot in the new timesheet. So we've basically brought the relationship more granular to be associated with both the schedule entry and the time entry that the actual exception is being calculated off of. So previously, we just had exceptions associated with the day as a whole, but now we can make that association more granular here. So it makes it a little easier to identify the relationship and where the exception is coming from. So you can see here for the 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. shift, that employee was absent, so we triggered that. And then also from a manager perspective, if I needed to delete that or clear that, I could do that right from the timesheet here. So there's a red X there that allows a manager to clear that if needed. So that leads me to my next item of the option to manage exceptions. So previously in the classic timesheet, being able to manage exceptions, that was all done through a separate tab, but we actually brought that forward to just having all that done on the time entry tab instead of having to do that in a completely separate tab. So now you can go into a manage exception pop-up for each exception that you need to manage. So if there's multiple exceptions for a time entry or multiple exceptions for a day, you can manage those right here in the pop-up. So as you can see here, I can clear that exception if needed, or I can clear it from the top, and then I can also add manual exceptions if needed as well. So if I have a break violation, I can add that, and then it would add it to the timesheet. And then to indicate that a manual exception was added, a red M there to indicate that it was manually added. So again, if I want to clear that, I can just hit that red X and then save it. And then the timesheet is saved. And then if I want to clear this absent exception, I can do that as well. Save it. And then if you needed to manage that, if you needed to undo the clearing of the absent exception, you can do that here under the manual exception. So if there's a calculated exception that gets cleared or manually overridden, you can actually undo that. And then you can basically clear out that change, save the timesheet, and then it would just trigger again based on your pay calc rules that automatically triggered it in the first place. All right, the next thing we can go through is the schedule column. So we've brought in visibility here on the timesheet as well. So if there's one, basically it'll summarize all the schedules for the day here on the day line. So in this example, I just have one schedule for the day, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I can drill down on that and see additional information if needed. But then once time entries are actually entered, it'll actually be better to go down to Thursday here and kind of show you that relationship. So on Thursday, if there's more than one shift, it'll just indicate that there's 2 shifts, 3 shifts, 4 shifts for the day, depending on how many there are. If the user needs to drill down into those and see additional details, they could. So I have shift 1 from 9 to 12:30, and then shift 2 to 5 from 5 to 9. So as you can see here, once time entries are entered for the day, the system is actually calculating and associating those time entries with the schedule right here on the time entry tab. Previously, we could only see that information and that relationship on the Calc Detail tab. So we actually brought that again to the time entry tab to make it easier to manage and just have that visibility for managers to see. So it's useful when maybe the employee was there for the first shift, 9 to 12:30, but maybe they were absent for the second shift in the day from 5 to 9. So they just want to see how the system is entries to schedules. All right, so that is pretty much it for the time entry tab. I'll also go through some other items that we'll have. So we also have the Timesheet Utilities that we'll be able to offer here in the 69 release. So you can view the accrual balances from the timesheet. So you can see all your balances there. You can view points. I don't think this employee has points, but you can see those balances here if needed. You could view the schedule. You can edit the schedule, which would take you to this weekly schedule report. And then you have the audit trails for timesheet and the exceptions. You can reprocess punches. And then you can also print the timesheet from here as well. So really we're closing all those gaps here with the classic timesheet, with the ultimate goal of this being the sole timesheet going forward once we have full feature parity with the classic timesheet. All right, so I will go to some of the secondary tabs here and show you kind of the redesign we've done there. The first one being the Calc Detail. So we've redesigned this tab as well to align with the concepts we had in the Time Entry tab. So previously the Calc Detail tab was really just a consolidation of a lot of data that kind of ran into each other. And for the average user, excuse me, for the average user, sorry, hold on. All right, sorry about that. For the average user, it was kind of hard to see how the system was calculating and how each day was differentiated. So we've actually added those day lines here for the day to be differentiated. So again, allows you to expand and collapse all the days. And if you just wanted to drill down on one day and see the calculation for that day, you easily can. So we have the manual entry indicators here with the red M. So that just shows that a user manually entered that time instead of a raw punch coming from a mobile app or the time clock, whatever that may be. And then you have all the calculated data, based on your pay calc being broken out here, similar to what we in Classic. A lot of the same calculations, same concepts are going to apply here. This is really just showing how the pay calculation is calculating those raw time entries. And then over here on the right, we have the counter columns that will break out all of the hours based on the allocated to. So you can see here for regular, I have hours allocated to it, and then I also have some tips in there as well, both on Monday and then on Friday. So into a day, we also have the option to approve and reject time entries. So if customers do need the individual time entry approval, we have that supported in the timesheet as well. So again, same concepts. If there's data or schedules for a day, it will automatically be expanded. If not, it would automatically be collapsed like you see here for Saturday and Sunday. But then users could easily expand all or collapse all if they needed to just see all the data at once. Next thing I'll go through is the counter adjustments. So same kind of concept here. So we have the days broken down. So here I have a couple days where tips are entered and the amounts. And if I were to add a new entry, so let's say I want to add it for the 8th, more tips. So on that day, I got $100. So once it adds that, once you select that date and adds it, it just groups it under that day. So if I had multiple entries, let's say I need to add another entry on Friday. So once I added that, it automatically grouped it under Friday, June 5th. And then I can add more time there, $15. And then save that. So again, here I can expand and collapse the days if needed. So if I just wanted to see a quick summary, I could do that. If I wanted to expand it and enter more data, I could do that as well. All right, let me jump over to the Calc Summary tab. Not a lot different here. It really just summarizes the hours and dollar amounts per counter or pay category. So you have regular here, tips here as well. If I jump to the counters tab, same concept. So we have the day line and the day separators. All days with data are expanded by default. You could collapse those as well with the counters. We couldn't really summarize them at the top like we did in the time entry and Calc Detail. So I think we'll be looking to see how we could eventually summarize those. But here in the first phase, there's a lot of technical complexities there. Yeah, so that's basically it for the counters tab. If I jump to the summary by day tab, same concepts there that we've carried over from Classic as well, not too many differences. You can view the hours by day in the week and then by counter, and then we can summarize the weekly totals as well if it's a bi-weekly pay period. So you can summarize by week and then ultimately by pay period as well. All right, and lastly, we have the shift premium summary. My timesheet actually doesn't have shift premiums, but it would look very similar to summary by day. Instead of shift premiums, you would just, or sorry, instead of counters, you would just have second shift, third shift, whatever those shift premiums might be. All right, the last thing I wanted to show you guys is the submission and approval process. So actually, let me log in as the employee real quick. Okay, so I logged in as Jake Bell. We also have the clock options. So we've brought those here to the timesheet. So if employees punch in and out from the timesheet, they have those clock options here to clock, just do a simple punch, they can clock in or they can clock out, those three options. So here in 69, we actually only have support for the simple clock buttons. The change cost center and add extra pay, those will be coming in release 70 in August. So for right now, we just support those three. The other item to touch on are the timesheet change requests. So we have those supported here. So if a user just needs to add a punch in for a day, they could do that. So on Tuesday, the day they were absent, they actually did punch in. So we could just put 9 a.m. We could submit that. And then that would go to the manager for approval, or would go through that workflow for approval, and then ultimately populate on the timesheet once that has gone through. All right, the next thing, submitting the timesheet from an employee perspective. So when an employee submits, we actually have support for the timesheet disclaimers now. So I know that was a big item in the current mobile timesheet that we didn't support until now. So you can see here the verbiage that is configurable in the timesheet profile. We can have that display here when the employee submits. So here it just says, by submitting timesheet, I agree that all time entered on the timesheet is accurate. So we have that through the timesheet disclaimers, but then we also have attestation as well. That's fully supported here in the timesheet. So once I submit that, timesheet is submitted, and now we show the timesheet status right here in the timesheet as well. So once it's in that submitted status, it changes from open to submitted. And then if I log in as that manager again, and go back to that same timesheet, so now if I approve it, so I have the option to approve or reject. And if I approve it, we also have the disclaimer supported for the managers as well, that appears right there. So once I approve it, the status changed to approved, and then it has a little lock icon. So this just indicates that the timesheet is finally approved, but the pay period is still unlocked. So as an admin, I'm logged in as an admin right now, so that's why the timesheet is still editable. Once that pay period has been closed out and locked, this icon would actually change to a closed lock icon to indicate that it's locked, and then all these fields would appear grayed out as well. All right, so that's pretty much it for the desktop version of the start in timesheet. So I want to show you guys the mobile timesheet as well. So let me try to get that set up here. Give me 1 second. All right, so I'll log into the mobile app here. I have to log in. Sorry about that. All right, so I'll navigate to the timesheet for that employee. Same employee we've used on desktop. All right, so when I open the timesheet, the coloration is kind of off. Doesn't look as great, but you can see that, I don't know if you can see or not, but we have the gray headers here, and we still have the differentiation there. So when you scroll up, you still have the days. By default, the system will navigate you to the current day. So it'll auto scroll you to the current day. So today's Wednesday. So it auto scrolls me to that day. I have an existing time entry there, and you can see the end date, the time off, the org levels and locations, just the cost centers and metadata that I have set up in my timesheet. and it also shows the schedule the schedule that the time entry is associated with. The system also auto-generates a blank time entry, so it anticipates a user entering a new time entry if they are opening the day and viewing it. If a user doesn't want to enter in a new time entry, that's fine. Once the timesheet gets saved, that day will just be disregarded, or sorry, that time entry will just be disregarded. So no harm there. So we also have the support for the time entry note here as well for that time entry, and then we have some additional actions there. So you can delete the time entry and then also manage exceptions from here as well. So I'll go and open that up. This day doesn't have any exceptions, but if you did, same kind of experience we had on desktop as well. Let me just actually bring up, it might be better just to bring up the mobile simulator through the browser. It's not the full experience, but it is a little bit better, I think, to show the differentiation of days. Oh, and actually, let me flip over to .home, so we'll get the full responsive. All right, so this might show it a little better. So you can see, so it'll automatically scroll you to the current day and expand the current day. All other days in the mobile view, all other days will be collapsed by default. So when you're in mobile and you need to drill down to a day, you can do that. Yeah, see on this, that header on mobile, the header doesn't actually stay sticky, but for some reason on the mobile simulator, it is staying sticky. But anyway, when you get scroll, once you add that, once you drill down on the day, it would scroll you to the blank time entry, and then from there, you could enter the new time entry if needed. So if you continue scrolling, you can just view all your days. You can view the summary of hours per day as well as you're going through the timesheet. So that is what it looks like from the mobile view. Again, same functionality that we had on desktop, just also on the mobile layout as well. All right, so let me jump over to the bulk hours timesheet real quick. We'll show you guys that. All right, so if we look here, this is a bulk hours timesheet for employees that have the bulk hours timesheet profile. So again, same requirements that we've always had. So the mobile app and the new UI and the new timesheet only supports the start, end, and the bulk hours timesheet profiles. So still staying with that. So as you can see here, similar layout that we have on desktop. So it's more of the cost centers and org levels on the left-hand side, and then and time offs, and then all of the data just going horizontally for the day. So this really helps for salaried employees that really just need to enter in bulk hours for each day. And it also really helps for project tracking as well. I think a lot of our customers that allocate time to a lot of different cost centers in the day and just need to allocate bulk hours, this timesheet works great for that. So we needed to bring that concept back here. So as you can see, cost center stays the same for the day or for the pay period, and the employee just needs to enter in time for it. As you can see here, when you hover over each day, and if you needed to add a time entry note, you could easily do that. So I can just put test in there. Hold on. I think I need to refresh the page real quick. All right, there we go. Okay, so when you enter in the time entry note, you can do that. You can hit test, hit save, and then it would same concept as the start end. So we just have the red indicator with the count of the note there as well. So same kind of thing for the daily note as well. All right. And these are completely configurable. If if users don't want notes on the bulk hours timesheet, those can be turned off and really just have the hours option. But if they do need to enter in a note for each day, they can just hover over that and enter it. So we still fix the columns on the right-hand side to show the raw total for each different data set, and then also the option to delete the time entries as well. So we are still looking at fixing the left-hand side columns as well, the cost centers, so that when they scroll to the right, those stay fixed. We just weren't able to get that fit into the 69 release, but it is in our plans, definitely. And then also we've added the option to add single or multiple rows at a time. So if I need to add 5 blank rows, I can do that and then easily fill out the timesheet from there. All right, so let me jump to the mobile app for the bulk timesheet. Okay, so for this, so it centers the page on the current day. So what we have here is, since the bulk hours timesheet is kind of based on cost center allocation and really just bulk hours for a day, we've kind of taken on that grouping for a mobile layout as well. So as you can see here, we have the day header that just has the bulk amount of hours for the day, and then you have just the bulk amount of hours allocated to that cost center combination. So if we have just the bulk amount of hours here and I needed to drill down to see additional information, I could do that. And then you can view the additional details if needed. And you can also edit entries as well. So if I go to, let me see which day. So if I go down to Friday, for example, which has the vacation entry, so it shows just kind of the general cost center information on the header and the time off associated with it, and then the bulk hours. And then if I need to see additional data, I can drill down on that. So for a user that uses this for project tracking and has all different kinds of cost center combinations entered for a day, they would really just see a header for each day or for each entry in the cost center combination. So if I had 2 hours allocated to Lowell, and then 2 hours allocated to Indianapolis, 2 hours allocated to New Jersey, I could just easily see those here. So if I show you that real quick, let me add a new time entry. Hold on. All right. So if I just enter in 2 more hours, I'll just change the location here to do Indianapolis, hit save. All right, so now if I go back to Friday, so now you can see how I have the differentiation 2 hours and 8 hours, and then if I need to drill down onto each subheader, I could to see those additional details. All right. So let's see what else. I think that's pretty much it from both the desktop and mobile experience. I think I've seen a lot of questions come through, so we'll just kind of spend the last few minutes to go through all of those. All right, let's start at the top. So Kent asked, can you lock headers on the timesheet? Yes, default behavior is that the headers should be locked by default. So let me go back to the start end that has more data on it. Yeah, so as I scroll down, you can see the headers stay fixed there, so you can still see what headers you're working with and things like that. All right. Halim asked, what about the time off duration, full day or half day? So yeah, my example just doesn't have dynamic duration enabled, but dynamic duration is fully supported here in the new timesheet. Matt said it would seem to be more intuitive to click on the exception to being that pop-up window rather than searching for a menu item. So I guess you're saying clicking on the exception itself to bring up the pop-up. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's good feedback. We can take a look at that, see if that's a possibility outside of having the other option available under the action menu. All right, just trying to see where I left off on the comments. What about reasons? So yes, reason codes will be fully supported. I don't have the option enabled in this timesheet, but the reason codes would appear over here on the right-hand side to the right of the schedule column. Change cost center time allocation button being available. We don't have that available just yet, but it is in our plans. So maybe kind of at a high level, I can take a step back and just kind of reiterate our plans for the new timesheet. So by the end of this fiscal year, so October, our goal is to have this new timesheet experience be our sole timesheet across all devices and all UIs. So once customers are using the new UI, at this point, it's the October is the target to get everyone moved over to the new UI. This new timesheet, we're hoping by the October timeframe, we'll be able to retire the classic timesheet and use this as the timesheet going forward across UIs. So that's kind of our strategy at this point and our goal. Oh, looks like Junior, you've been sorry, Junior, I just saw you've been answering some questions there. I see a question, will this work with advanced schedule to edit the schedule? No, we still have that limitation here in the timesheet. So if it's advanced scheduler, those schedule edits need to be done in the actual schedule itself. We don't support the ability to edit in the schedule and have it sent back to the schedule to update. Can you also show map for geolocation clock times? At this point, we don't have that support, but it is in our plans in the next couple of releases to have that. Can you also display multiple cost centers on the new timesheet? Yes. So you'll be able to, when you add new rows, and the columns that you have enabled are completely configurable in the timesheet profile. So however many cost centers you have configured for your company, you can add those to the timesheet as well to make those visible. All right, I don't think we're gonna get to all the questions, so I'll see how many we can get to. Sherry asked, can you show historical corrections? We don't have that yet in the new timesheet, but we will have that hopefully by the October timeframe. Nicole asked, can you copy timesheets from week to week? In the bulk timesheet, that's a feature, but we don't have that yet supported here in 69, but we hope to have that by October as well. All right, let me skip past Junior's comments where he edited some. I think you guys were asking, will the red E appear for manual time entries? And the answer is yes. It's on the Calc Detail tab. So instead of showing a red E, we're actually doing a red M, just to indicate a manual edit and just to bring consistency across the entire timesheet. So if you go to the Counters tab, we display the red M for any counters that were manually added on the Counter Adjustment tab. And then we also have that on the Calc Detail as well. Steve asked, can you choose the order in which columns appear? Basically reorganizing the cost center columns. We don't have that currently, but that is on our roadmap. Probably not by October, but just general roadmap for the timesheet itself to have that ability. That's a big feedback item we've gotten from a lot of people. So that's something we plan to support. any plans to add an option to copy cost centers used in previous timesheet for bulk hours? So yes, that's an option that we have in Classic today, so we plan to bring that over to the new timesheet as well, that configuration option. All right. Holly asks, Connor, can you put together what's available now and what's coming in October? Or is that going to be in the release notes? Yeah, so what we're planning to do with our release notes here in 69, highlight all the features we have today, and then also have a list of all of the items we still need to complete in the new timesheet. So customers, partners, everyone will know exactly what is still missing in the new timesheet that is available in Classic. So again, we're trying to close all those gaps by October, but we're going to try and be transparent in the meantime to make people aware of all the gaps. Heidi asks, at what point will the Classic view be withdrawn? So the goal right now is October, but really at the point that we have full feature parity with the Classic view, that is when we plan to retire it. So once we can support everything in the new timesheet, we will retire the Classic, and this will just be the new timesheet going forward. All right, Gina asked, if a client has to have employees transfer cost centers, they can't set this view for their employees yet. Not exactly sure what you mean by that. Like if employees need to transfer, oh, I see what you're saying. So if they need to transfer cost centers in the timesheet itself using the punch buttons, yeah, we don't have that supported yet in 69, coming in 69, but we will have that supported in 70, the option to transfer cost centers in the timesheet itself. But they could still do it from the clock page. Let's see, where's that at? Oh, I guess I'm logged in as an admin. They could do it from here. So you could have the change cost center option on the clock widget as well. So that's an alternative option. Can I have same staff on the new timesheet and another group on the old timesheet? On desktop, you could, but for mobile, everyone will have the new mobile timesheet. But on desktop, if you wanted some users to have the desktop or classic view and some to have the new timesheet view, you could control that in the timesheet profile.
Hey, Molly. How are you, baby?
Michael, do you have a question? All right. All right. Is that all the questions for today? Anyone else have any other questions? All right. Well, thanks everyone for your time today. Hope everyone's really excited about the new timesheet. I know we are. It's been a long work in progress. The teams have done a lot of great work on it. So we're really excited to get this rolled out. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. But thanks again for your time. Have a good rest of the day.